Fantastic. So welcome to the Silver Sirens Virtue Sanctuary. Welcome to Thriving Through Midlife, our special menopause edition. So I'm just going to start off by reading Silver Sirens' menopause statement, which is Silver Sirens continues to challenge the limiting beliefs and negative stereotypes surrounding menopause and to empower women to embrace this natural life stage as a powerful catalyst for growth and positive change. We aim to create a supportive, nurturing environment where women can explore their passion and priorities, gain confidence, and navigate the physical, emotional, and social changes associated with menopause. Ultimately, we strive to inspire and to guide women on a journey of self-discovery, helping them to emerge from this transformative experience more robust, wiser, and more aligned with a true purpose. So tonight, it is an honor to have this panel of experts to further this critical conversation. So first of all, I want to introduce our speakers. I'm going to start off with Dr. Nicole Avard the co-founder of MetLuna. Hello, Dr. Nicole.
Hi, everyone.
And Grace Malloy from Menopause Friendly. Yay, hi, Grace.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And then finally, Jennifer Harrington, who kindly stepped in for Chiza. And she's a founder of Menopause Natural Solutions. So just a little bit about Jennifer, because she's the only one's bio you've not had chance to read. So in 2010, after advertising as a hormone specialist, Jennifer found that she had more menopausal clients than fertility clients. The fast transformation that her menopausal clients were making made her rethink her work, and she started Menopause Natural Solutions in 2014. As the years rolled by, she sold her brick-and-mortar clinic to free up more time to dedicate herself to researching and creating a better way to help more perimenopausal and menopausal women thrive. So thank you to our beautiful speakers and panelists. So I'm going to start off first. Can I start off with you, Dr. Nicole? Okay, so with a question. So the first question is, can you share some personal experience you faced during menopause? Over to you.
Oh, thanks. I think I'm 49. So even as a GP, it crept up on me. So, the definition of perimenopause technically is a change in your menstrual cycle by more than 7 days for consecutive cycles. But when I think back on it, there was definitely changes happening before that even happened for me. And I think the biggest one was sleep disturbance. So I don't hot flush, but sleep disturbance came about pretty quickly. And then subsequently, it can be a bit tricky to manage my mood when sleep gets low. So that's been a little bit tricky. What has been my saving grace has been finding my tribe. So well done to Silver Sirens for having a community that you can lean into and, just have a safe space to share and feel like the struggle is not alone, and hold that with a lot of self-compassion. And nature is my go-to. So, 20 minutes in the ocean, winter, summer, autumn, any time of year, is how I've kind of been navigating my menopausal journey.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much. And I love that swimming in winter, how good that is for hot flushes, because I'm a fan of swimming too. So good for you.
Yes, it's been my lifesaver. It took me about I trained to get myself through winter without a wetsuit. It took me about 5 to 7 years to slowly getting kind of lighter in the wetsuits and then eventually taking the wetsuit top off. But yeah, it's definitely been a godsend.
Good on you. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Grace. The same question.
Happy Diwali, everyone. I'm not sure how many people know what that festival is for today, but I also wanted to say what a beautiful message of the light overcoming the darkness, particularly for anyone in perimenopause who feels the darkness descending on them that we sometimes feel through this life phase. So thank you so much to everyone for joining today and to talk about menopause. It's my favorite topic, so I could talk all day about it. When I found out that perimenopause was something I had no information on and no knowledge about, I was pretty shocked and surprised, particularly because I'd done a nursing degree and a master's of nursing. I had a father who was an obstetrician and a mum who was a midwife, and we talked about women's health at the breakfast table, at the dinner table. I knew way too many things about women's health as a young girl, probably a little bit too much. And so when I realized when I was working in clinical research that none of my friends, myself, none of us knew anything about perimenopause and could identify it, I became really annoyed about that and decided to use my experience in the corporate world and my nursing degree to make a change in the corporate space. So Menopause Friendly was born out of me being really angry and annoyed at the injustice of women actually not knowing anything about perimenopause. And I really do hope that in 10 years' time, I don't have to be shouting about it anymore.
And yeah, Grace, your menopause journey started really, really young, though. Can you just share that with us?
Yeah, so it didn't, now that I know, it wasn't actually unusual. So if you think about menopause, on average happens between 45 and 55, and perimenopause happens, up to 7 to 10 years before that. So I started getting symptoms in my late 30s, which is actually pretty normal, but didn't realize and couldn't piece together that those symptoms were hormone related. Went to see many doctors, as we hear many people sharing similar stories. I went to a OBGYN for my urinary symptoms. I went to several doctors. I was prescribed antidepressants. I found it really difficult to manage my mood, particularly, and that was showing up really in my relationships with my family, particularly my children. And I really just didn't know who I was anymore, and I felt really lost amongst a sea of changes physically and mentally. And then one day I started getting heart palpitations, and I was almost excited because I was like, oh, this is something I can actually measure and feel. I went and had a 24-hour Holter monitor. I went to a cardiologist, and it was like, yes, you are actually, your heart is beating weirdly. So it was like a tangible symptom I could grab onto and say, something is happening here. And that was the catalyst for me actually working out that all of my symptoms that I was experiencing were tied back to some of the changes around my hormones, and being able to then work out what was going to be the best solution for me to feel better, which has been a bit of a journey as well.
Thank you. And I love how it's usually how it impacts our relationship with our families that actually draws our attention for a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
think
us.
the family knows us the best, don't they? Even when we're kind of in it, and so you don't see it so much from, when you're living it. But, I had my partner tap me on the shoulder and sort of say, I think you need to check the way you're talking to the kids. I mean, that's really not like you to speak that way to them. And what's going on for you? Why are you so irritable and crabby and emotional? And, maybe it's work. What's going on? There must be something that's been, something extra that's been put on your shoulders to make you change the way you're behaving so vastly. And that for me was a real wake-up call as well, when I thought I was hiding it pretty well or just dealing with it on my own well, but I think our loved ones often know us better than we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Jennifer.
Okay, so I feel like there's a common thread here. I am also in my late 40s, I'm 48, and I also started perimenopausal symptoms in my late 30s. So although I'm from Menopause Natural Solutions and I'm a naturopath, I actually needed some conventional care during my journey. And this is what I love about this time of life, is that you take the best from anywhere, but it's about you choosing your personal journey and what you want to take on your journey with you. So in my case, my uterus is just amazing at growing things. I grew a human. I grew polyps, I grew fibroids. Like, if you can grow it in the uterus, I've done it. But that's not going to help me through my perimenopausal journey. At my worst, I bled every single day, flooding bleeds. I lost half my blood supply, and then it ended up an emergency, needing 2 blood transfusions and an iron infusion from something that could have been fixed with a D&C. Now, it wasn't fixed with a D&C because of COVID, and my surgery was put down as elective. So for those of you listening, that won't happen to you because, if you have surgery booked, you can go and have it. So I've had my D&C, life is good, but I'm not through the menopausal journey. I know that it happens in waves. So although I'm good, I'm not, woohoo, I'm done. I know that there's another wave that's going to come, and I'm open-mindedness. I've got enough open-mindedness to actually go look at all the options and decide what is right for me at that time of my journey.
Beautiful. Thank you. Some of the medical stuff that you went through, I really related to that too, because I had what was called medically induced menopause. So again, the same experiences around the iron infusion, just many, many years of a lot of pain. And again, the polyps and the fibroids, all of that absolutely relate to that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're on to our second question. Okay, so let's go back. We'll go back to, why don't we go to Grace just to mix it up, okay? So we'll go to you, Grace. So what are some helpful myths, unhelpful myths surrounding menopause, and why is it crucial to dispel them?
I
Okay,
love
Grace?
this because, we get our information about menopause from social media often. And so, we're kind of victims to whatever is on the public media or social media. The first myth I love debunking is that it's for, 70-year-old women, and it's just hot flushes. So if you Google menopausal woman, the whole page will just be quite an older looking white woman holding a fan, fanning herself, either fanning herself or doing this one. So, those are kind of the two images that we have of perimenopause and menopause. And I think that we need to start talking about the fact that it happens a lot earlier than we expect, that it can happen in other ways through surgery and illness, and that it's not just hot flushes, that there are so many symptoms that people can experience, and everyone's journey is going to be different. So I think those are kind of the main myths that I think we'd love to debunk. I think also I get so many questions every time we run a session. Someone asks about HRT or MHT. Does this cause breast cancer? So with the WHI study in 2002, which was misrepresented and misreported, and it linked hormone therapy to a significant increased risk in breast cancer. We've got, a lot of research since then that shows that MHT can be very safe and effective as a treatment option for women. It's absolutely not a magic pill, and it's not for everyone. But I think we need to start opening that conversation and debunking some of that myths around HRT, because whether or not someone wants to take HRT or is going to take it, having that fear often is the reason why women don't go and ask about it or seek support, because they think, oh, well, I don't want to have, HRT, and maybe that's something that's going to be confusing. And so I think we just need to give women a lot more information about what the facts and figures are about menopause, how it impacts people, what the treatment options are that are available, both medical and non-medical, and lifestyle, so that women can be informed and make their own choices about how they want to manage their menopause. And the last thing I think we need to debunk is that it's all bad. Who was it said the community? Nicole, talking about the community. The best part of being in Peri for me has been the menopause posse. And, people on this call, like I see, is Natalie on the call? I can see Natalie. I saw Nat at and that you were at the screening, weren't you, of the documentary? And so we see people around Australia that we've been connecting with. And for me, that's a great positive that can come from this time of life, is finding a new tribe of people that are going through something with you, experiencing it together, and having that newfound sense of community and sense of belonging that comes from being in this great time of life.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love what Jackie said in the chat. Jackie and Phyllis, I'll come to you. I think menopause gives us superpowers with things like winter ocean swimming, going back to what Dr. Nicole and I's passion. And Phyllis said it's the second puberty, which I love as a description. Absolutely. It's not all negative. So I love that message. So thank you. Let's go to Jennifer with that second question.
Well, I want to carry on from that, menopause being the second puberty. So with times of transition, we have a beginning, we have a middle, we have an end. Is anyone here still going through puberty? It's the same with menopause. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. So although it can be a tough time, it is a transition you move through, and you often move through it in waves where there'll be different things that'll be problematic at different times. But next day's a new day. It's a new day, a new dawn, a second spring, and off we go. And I think the second thing that I want to demyth is just that menopause isn't only about hot flushes and night sweats. They're not even the top 5 symptoms of menopause. Like number 1 is fatigue. And how many of us are just so tired? Like life is tiring, but it doesn't need to be. And if you are struggling, there's plenty. What I really love about 2024 is the vast number of practitioners that are specializing in this area. When I started 10 years ago, I don't think there were very, very many practitioners, and I can't help everyone. So it's so nice to have some comrades come on board so that there are plenty of trained practitioners who can support you.
Yeah. And there's so many a variety that, like Grace was saying, in the treatment options, but also the different modalities as well. And I think it's just so good not to shame anybody, because I know a lot of women will say to me they feel a lot of shame around saying they were on HRT. So I think it's so important that, you know, there's that openness that women will find what works for them.
That's it. It's your menopause, your way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Nicole.
I'm just going to carry on the theme, really. I really love how Grace and Jennifer put that. You know, the first myth to debunk is that it is a journey. It's not just about the hot flushes. There are so many symptoms, and I get really passionate about the mental health impacts, you know, the incidence of depression and anxiety, and the impact of cognitive hyperfunctioning or brain fog, particularly for women in the workplace. And then leading on to that, you know, how the landscape and the conversations are changing around the safety of MHT, and that women don't need to suffer anymore. And you know, MHT now needs to be on the table as a first-line treatment for mental health in menopause and perimenopause transitions. Yeah, so you know, just following on from the myths that Grace and Jennifer said, and the one that I would like to add is that menopause is not a women's problem, it's a societal problem. So, you know, the impact that it is having on some women in the workplace and some women in their personal lives. We all have, you know, males in our lives, males who are our partners, who are our bosses, who are our sons, who are our uncles, you know, and we need to be starting conversations with everyone in the room around menopause being a societal issue, because we heal best in community, and our blokes are good at healing us as well. So let's get some males in the room.
Yeah, and I think that's such a powerful message, like bringing in the whole community, you know, bringing in the partners, the employers, all of that. I think that's really, really important. And I loved what you said about the mental health aspect of it too, because I know for me as a psychotherapist, I started Silver Sirens because of women coming to me because they were depressed. And a lot of it, when we teased it out, was go to your doctor, like check it out. And a lot of it was menopause related. So instead of just going straight on to antidepressants, it was like, okay, some of these symptoms are actually related to this phase of life. So yeah, really, really powerful.
And look, and an antidepressant may well be the right treatment of choice for a person, right? But you know, if you look at Professor Kulkarni's work, you know, there's not enough research done on the role of MHT, because we're just coming out of the fog of it was bad for you, in terms of moving forward and starting to put women in perimenopause and menopause transition on such treatment. And there's already some good studies coming out around the positive impacts it can have on your mental health.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So let's just check in. So Fifi's saying, I am considered experienced mental health registered nurse. No one ever discussed this. Been working in psych for years. Whatever it takes, I say. Yeah, absolutely. So then you're on the front line, so you know this to be true. Thank you, Fifi. Okay, so number 3. So what are some of the challenges for women going through menopause in the workplace? So this would be an area for everyone, but I imagine, let's start with you, Grace.
Well, I mean, we've just talked about some of the symptoms. I mean, we're not leaving those at home when we go to work, or when we sit at our desk in our home to work. If we've got a migraine because of menopause, well, that's the reality that we've got to deal with at work. If we've got heavy flooding periods, that's something that we're going to have to deal with at work. If we've got brain fog, that's going to be something that precludes us from feeling confident about our abilities at work. So menopause is a workplace issue, because now a lot of us will be working through our transition. So if you look at the data from the ABS, 81% of women will be working through their menopause transition. So workplaces who we speak to are starting to understand that by providing a menopause-friendly environment, they can help women to feel included, to feel like they don't need to either scale back their work or take time out of work or leave work altogether, that there is small things often that workplaces can do to help women to not feel like they have to hide symptoms, not be embarrassed about asking for a little bit of extra help, and really to just normalize the conversation within the workplace, because it is something that every single person born with ovaries is going to go through, yet there's still a lot of whispering that goes on in corridors. So we're so pleased that the Senate inquiry provided really strong recommendations on how workers and employers should be thinking about menopause in the workplace. And on Wednesday, what day is it today? Thursday. Yesterday, that's how busy it's been. I sat in on a Standards Australia committee meeting as we were reviewing the international standard for menopause and menstruation in the workplace. So it's not just in Australia, globally, workplaces and employers are understanding that they need to step up and provide an environment that's not just created for the male middle-aged man. And I love going into workplaces and asking people how the air conditioning's going, because that's usually starts a bit of a discussion from the ground up about how the air conditioning's not designed for women, even that as a small thing. So I'm really encouraged. There's a lot of employers who want to do the right thing, who are stepping up to do that. And really it's just showing what that best practice looks like and allowing women to have good conversations with their manager about what they need, rather than not asking because they're worried about what it would look like for them within a workplace.
Do we have the stats on how many women the industry loses every year, good talent, because of menopause symptoms, because those women feel like they can't discuss what they're going through? Do we have that stats?
Really hard to get the stat. First reason is when you're trying to study something that has stigma and shame attached to it, people don't self-report that that's the reason why they're leaving. But it's really hard to get that statistic. The other reason is we just haven't been keeping records of that. So we don't actually know why people are leaving workplaces if it is related to menopause. But we do know that of women who retire before 55, which is pretty early, 45% of those people said their own health was the reason. And for most people in that time of life, menopause is a reality. So you can kind of get a sense from that statistic that if we really help women to feel well through midlife and feel better during this time of life, we can reduce some of that, that health reason as to why people are leaving work. We just did some research, a really short sort of snapshot of Australian women between 35 and 60 working in Australia. So we asked lots of questions about how they were feeling in the workplace, and it was really hard to read from my perspective. So 46% of women said that they'd lost confidence because of menopause symptoms. 45% of women said that they had lost self-esteem during menopause. And this leads to women not putting their hands up for promotions, not feeling competent in their job, not feeling as though they're able to do their job. And so that, you know, over time, that just erodes our kind of ability to want to be there. And I think that loss of confidence and self-esteem is really what's driving some of the statistics we see in the gender pay gap. So 9 out of 10 CEOs in ASX 300 companies are men. And we're going backwards in our gender pay gaps. So we need to start looking at, well, why do women not want to go into these leadership positions? Why are we leaving the workforce early? Why do we lose confidence and self-esteem? And I absolutely believe that regardless of any study showing it, menopause is a reason why women are not in leadership roles, stepping back from work, taking time off. You just have to walk into one workplace and do what I do, and you really see and hear the impact that not getting the right support has on women in their careers.
Yeah, thank you. So let's go to you, Dr. Nicole.
Sorry, just took a bit of time to unmute there. Yeah, thanks, Grace. Well summarised. I think I would probably break this into 3 groups, very similar to Grace's conversations. The symptomatic impact on women. So, you know, if you think even, you know, I see a lot of teachers and nurses, and if you think about the practical symptoms of hot flushing when you're in PPE, you know, dripping sweat when you're trying to change a wound for someone, not having the capacity to go to the toilet if you've got frequent urination or frequent urinary tract infections if you're a teacher, the impact of mental health and cognitive hypofunctioning. So, you know, the physical impacts and the mental impacts can then, as to Grace's point, you know, really create an element of guilt, can create an element of guilt and shame and erode one's confidence for a woman. It's not always the case, but I think we need to be starting awareness and conversations around this in the workplace. And certainly at Metaluma, when we've done our group appointments, the most powerful thing we have found is that, you know, we get 8 women together and they share their experience, and just the therapeutic bang we get from knowing that they're not alone and they can be supported in the workplace in their struggles, even just in conversations, is really helpful. Starting conversations, we were really lucky to run with the Serenity Collective. September, I think it was, we had 18 male leaders in the room, and, you know, depending on the maturity of the organisation, you know, we had all the way from non-profit to, you know, big insurance companies. But there was different conversations around how to start conversations in the workplace for menopausal women, particularly if a manager or a leader is seeing that it's impactful for them. And finally, we need more research, as Grace points out. The statistics are just not there. We need to understand what, you know, as she said, the women working off tends to drop after 55. Women going into leadership tends to reduce in the late 40s. We need to be understanding the factors that are happening for women at this time so that we can be proactive around finding solutions so that we can start to address things like diversity and inclusion and gender pay gaps. And certainly the Senate inquiry was, you know, a powerful voice in terms of saying we need more research in this area.
Yeah, beautiful. I love what you had to say about, you know, how important it is that starting the conversation. I think that's such a crucial piece, because when there's stigma and ignorance, that's, you know, that's usually the first step to change. And we know that the fact that we're having these conversations now, you know, is real indicator that we're moving along, that we're progressing. So I really love that about helping people how to start the conversation. So thank you for that. Okay, Jennifer.
This is the first time I've met Grace. And Grace, can I say thank you for the work that you do? I don't think I can add anything to what either ladies have already said, but my heart is just open, and I'm so glad that there's women like both of you out there making the world a better place for the rest of us women.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
If anyone is wanting to open up a conversation in their workplace, I saw someone typing in the chat and they're not sure how or who to go to or where to go. Sorry if you can hear my crazy dog. He's barking at trick-or-treaters. We actually created some free resources in partnership with Dove. So you can go to www.dove.com/menopause. And there's some really great guides there for individuals and for employers that are free that you can download. So there's a conversation guide of how you might approach your manager. There's information about menopause and the ages and stages and symptoms. And that's just a good free place to start in terms of opening up the conversation. I'll just put it in the chat.
Thanks,
fantastic.
Grace. It's great to have good free resources. And just want to say right back at you, Jennifer. I mean, you've been trailblazing menopause care for well before we jumped on board. So well done to all the women you've helped along the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a well done to everyone. And everyone does it in their own way. So I really love that. So thank you for that. Can someone, Jodie, can you do me a massive favor and just add that www.dove/menopause in the chat, just so we can find that link for everyone? It sounds like a really, oh, you've done it already. Oh, she's on to it. Great, thank you. Okay, so number 4. So it looks like we're going to have time for lots of questions. So that'd be great. So number 4. So what are some of the breakthroughs, advances, initiatives, or hopes do you see regarding menopause? Okay, so let's go to Jennifer. Why don't we go to you first, Jennifer?
Sure. So first of all, I guess I want to start at the beginning by saying that menopause is not new. As long as there have been women, there has been menopause. And there's a really fabulous book called The Slow Moon Climbs. and it's written by a historian that looks at the history of menopause. She looks at how menopause happens in Indigenous tribes. And it's so nice to know this isn't a new problem, but it's a problem that is enhanced at the moment because of current life. Like the amount of environmental pollutions is different now than at any other time in history. Our stress levels are crazy. And the nutrient depletion in our food, like would food even be recognized by our great-grandparents? So I see that there's so many factors that make menopause today more difficult than it previously was in the past, but it's not new. So getting back to moving forward, so next year, I'm going from being 100% in telehealth to being back 2 days a week in clinic and then the telehealth is because I'm so excited about different technologies. So next year I'll be playing around with red light therapy for menopause. So red light therapy is really good for resetting the circadian rhythm. So really good for enhancing melatonin and balancing out cortisol so we sleep better. And maybe we have less night sweats, we have more energy, that we have clearer thoughts. That is just one of the pieces of equipment I will have at my disposal. So maybe you need to ask me next year, because at the moment it's all too fresh, it's all too new, but I'm looking at innovative technical solutions rather than more pills to put in our mouth.
Yeah, it's exciting. Well, we'd
So
definitely
watch
love
this
to get you
space.
back next year. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Dr. Nicole.
Oh, look, I think there's so much to be excited about, really, and we've covered a lot of it this evening. You know, there is so much more awareness. There are more conversations starting to happen. You know, Grace is moving into workplaces and starting to create a groundswell of awareness and change for menopausal women in the workplace. There's an uplift in education. Thanks to the Senate inquiry, you know, there will be hopefully more time and money invested into doctor training and research. And then just the landscape around hormone replacement or MHT, you know, we're moving into a phase where, you know, we are in a phase where that is safe and acceptable, and more conversations are being had. It's being prescribed more. We're getting more data and research around the benefits well beyond symptom control, such as reduction in cardiovascular risk and bone protection, and probably dementia protection as well. So that's quite an exciting space. And then for us at Metaluma, we're excited about the capacity for new models of care and the impact that we can have to scale and reach more women with our digital technologies. So that's quite exciting for us.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay, Jennifer.
Sorry, at first it's Grace's turn.
Oh,
it's Grace. Sorry, that's what I meant. I meant you, Grace.
This is where I get really mad. And I told you I started this company because I got really mad, and I still get really mad because when you look at the number of new companies that are invested in, women founders, 3% of investment goes to women founders. And if you look at research in women's health, if you take out cancer, 1% of investment goes to research in women's health. What the actual, you know, I mean, this is nuts. So the great news is that we have a spotlight on menopause at the moment, and it means that people are interested in investing in research that will increase innovation. I think if you want innovation, you need investment, you need money to do that. You need researchers who are really clever to go, oh, menopause, that's something I'm interested in finding out new treatments for, or figuring out how we can solve this problem. So you need researchers that are interested. You need people who want to fund that research. And you need entrepreneurs and people who are commercially minded to go, oh, this is a great way to actually have a market that I can, you know, sell a product to that's actually really helpful and useful and that's evidence-based. So I think if I look to 2 years ago compared to even now, in 2 years, there has become a lot more interest. There are people looking at menopause as something that's, you know, potentially going to be a need for women to actually get the right support and treatment for. And so all of that attention will mean that we will have better research, better treatment options, better support for women. So, but I still think we need to keep being angry and keep pushing people, pushing the government, and keep saying, we deserve better. We are more than half of the population, yet we receive such little funding when it comes to research and innovation. So I think if anyone knows any VCs or anyone who's investing in things or in universities, just ask them, how much of your investment's going to women's health, and have you looked at menopause as a problem that you can potentially help to solve for? Just my last thing that I'm angry about, HRT, what's up with how really rudimentary it is? Putting a patch on and you don't know how much you dissolve into your body compared to somebody else's. Rubbing gel on your arms that you then can't hug your kids because it will transfer to them. And, we just put up with these really quite not innovative or advanced in terms of medicine treatment options for something that everyone's going to go through. So I think we need to have better solutions, better information, more research, and the only way we're going to get that is if we keep being angry and keep pushing people who make those decisions to make the right decisions for us. I'll stop my rant now.
No, great rant. And I love that the anger being a catalyst, that's what pushes us to make change. That's great. But I also love the hope and the excitement in the messages. So that's great. Thank you. So we're going to have time for questions, which is great. So we've got one more question and then we're going to open it up. So I'm just saying to everyone here present, if you think about the questions you would like to ask our panel, or if you want to share your menopause stories, fun things, difficult things, whatever. Okay, I'm going to come to you after this question. Okay, so we're going to start this one with Dr. Nicole. So how can we reshape the menopause narrative, empowering women to embrace this stage of their lives? Dr. Nicole.
Continuing on from themes of our discussions, knowledge is power. So, ensure that we are starting conversations, dispersing accurate information, getting more research in the area. So knowledge is power. And secondly, find your tribe. So, make sure you have your people around you that are going to support you physically, emotionally, and spiritually through this journey. They'd be my top two.
Yeah. And we know research supports the women that have a community live longer and better lives as they age than women who don't. So that tribe message is so crucial. So thank you for bringing that home. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Grace next.
Sorry, what was the question?
The question was, how can we reshape the menopause narrative, empowering women to embrace this stage of their lives?
Oh, we're doing it. I mean, aren't we doing it? I think we're doing it. Yay. No, I think we've got to stand up and say, this is what it looks like. People say to me all the time, you're too young to have a menopause business. Why are you talking about menopause? Leave it to the people that are actually going through it. And I love that because it gives me the opportunity to reshape that narrative and say, well, why do you think that it's only for women in their 50s and 60s? And what are your latent biases around menopause? And I think the more that we can talk about the realities and help people to feel not alone, the more people that will speak up about what they're going through. And I think also we do need to celebrate how amazing we are. And I think when I go into workplaces and I ask people to share the words that they would use to describe women in midlife in their organisation, they are amazing words. They're empowered and wise and capable, the fabric of our culture, and the people who show up and do more than they need to and put their hand up to say, I'll do this extra bit and I've got your back. So, we do really acknowledge that, but we don't talk about it. And women often feel that we're failing at this time of life. We don't feel those words inside. We feel inadequate. We feel different. We feel loss of confidence and loss of self-esteem. So I think we need to start being better at thanking people for the things that they do and how amazing they are, and telling each other how competent, capable, and wise and amazing we are, and celebrating some of the great parts of getting older, like not sweating the small stuff and not worrying so much about all the little things that really don't matter. And again, having that tribe and having that confidence to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Or, I don't really actually mind that that the dishes aren't done today, because I think it's really a great opportunity for women to decide what with in their next phase of life and what they're going to let go and not sweat so much as we move to this great time of life.
Mm. And the one that people, I don't think women we talk about enough, but it's the celebrating not having periods anymore. That is so good.
Yeah, not worrying if you're pregnant every month.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's one to celebrate. Lots of jumping.
But can I also add, this is actually quite sad. When we did the research of 1,000 women across Australia, we asked for them to express what positives there are about menopause. And then we analysed the results of the people's, it was just a free text, and less than 2% of the words were positive. So that, you know, really shows we do still have such a negative view of menopause.
Yeah.
And we've got a long way to go to change that, I think.
Yeah, I think the hope is that we're on the right track. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, Jennifer?
I want to build on that celebration.
Yeah.
So getting back to the book, The Slow Moon Climbs, when she talks about Indigenous tribes, a lot of these women evolve, they step up into that wise woman role within their tribe and within their community. And I think as Westerners, we need to embrace that ourselves. And the other thing, if you go far enough back, the pagans used to have a 13th moon celebration, which, by the way, I'm going to have for myself when I get there. And that is just bringing the females together that might have been your mentors or your friends or your families. It's a female celebration that you've gone 13 moons since your last bleed. You're now menopausal, and it is a celebration. I'm hoping in my case it's a full moon and we get some drums out and some dancing on the beach, but it should be a party.
Yeah, I think in that West, there's a grief around that loss of initiation, you know, that some other cultures still hold, and that really celebrating when a woman comes of age in this stage, you know, I think that's so important. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to now hand it over. I'm just going to change my view so I can see everyone. Okay, so we would like to, I'm going to go to Jen, I'm going to go to Natalie. I'm going to go to you first. Natalie, can I call on you to add any feedback, any questions? Yeah, there you go.
So it's been a few months since Nicole and I actually spoke, because after the Menopause Centre inquiry in Sydney, I reached out to Nicole and Georgie because I wanted to interview them and write an article about all the great work that they were doing. I knew that the content would really appeal to my audience of midlife women. And so did the interview. It was all really great, and, you know, wrote it all up. And then when I was actually reading the blog article and going through the list of the symptoms, and I'll share the link of the blog, but in the list there was one thing, joint pain. Now, the last 2 or 3 years, I have been seeing all these physios, doctors, acupuncture, trying to do everything to figure out why I've had all this pain that just wouldn't go away. And something clicked when I looked at that, and I immediately booked to go and see my GP. And I've got a really good GP. She's very knowledgeable about menopause, but I didn't think to tell her that I was going through all this other stuff that I thought she wouldn't be able to help me with, because I thought, well, I'm seeing all these other, you know, specialists, and so I don't need to tell her. Like, the time that you get to see with the GP, you don't want to really waste. And so I said, look, I suspect I've been perimenopausal for the last 5 years, but one of the symptoms I didn't realize was the musculoskeletal and the joint pain. And she immediately said, yep, that's definitely a symptom. And so I got all the blood tests done, and you know, within less than a week, I was then on MHT. And, you know, so that was only a few months ago, and I've been totally pain-free and sleeping really well. So that's my story as a result of talking to Nicole and interviewing her, thinking, you know, I just want to share the knowledge that and pass it on. And but then I was the one who actually benefited it. So it goes to show the point that you've all made about knowledge and sharing that with as many people as possible. The more informed we are, we can advocate for ourselves and go and get the right help and explore options.
Yeah, beautiful. Did you want to respond, Dr. Nicole?
Firstly, lovely to see you, Natalie. Always a pleasure to chat. I wasn't at the IMS conference because I had to work, but interestingly, the Asian experience is apparently one of the commonest symptoms they get is joint pain through perimenopause and menopause. So that's awesome that you could make that correlation.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, it was also in the M Factor film as well. So,
Yeah.
like, I feel like this freaky woman when I see a woman who's about my age, and I go, "Did you know if you're feeling a bit of pain, it could be perimenopause?" I need to write an article about that too.
Yeah, and there was a recent journal article about musculoskeletal syndrome in menopause and really calling it out as a specific condition. So, we're getting there. There's the research around the impact of adding MHT and the effect on joint pain is still to come, but certainly in my clinical experience, it's similar to yours. If you can align the dots well enough, and then MHT is offered, for a lot of women, their musculoskeletal symptoms can certainly settle.
So thank you, Dr. Abbott.
Lovely to see you.
Now, if you want to ask a question, ladies, just put your hand up or put your virtual hand up, okay, and I'll come back to you. I'll try and get to you, okay? I'm just going to ask the question that Charlotte posed in the chat. Okay, I have a friend who thinks she might be perimenopausal. How common is early menopause? And I think you might have missed Grace talking about her experience of early perimenopause, which she actually found out wasn't really early. How common is early menopause and what unique challenges does it pose? Are there signs people or women should look out for that may indicate a transition beginning earlier than expected? So Grace, can I get you to answer that?
Sure. There's a great website actually created by one of the world leading researchers around early menopause, who's based in Australia, called Amanda Vincent, and it's called askearlymenopause.org. And the statistics on their website show that 12% of Australian women will go through early menopause, which is menopause before 45. So that's when you finish having periods and you haven't had a period for 12 months before 45. If you go through menopause before 40, that's technically called POI, or premature ovarian insufficiency. I love the terms they give to women, like geriatric pregnancy and insufficiency. But that occurs in around 3% of people. So it is getting more common, and we have seen over the last 100 years, menopause is starting earlier. So 100 years ago, the average age of menopause was 57. And today, the average age of menopause is 51. So we do see it creeping forward. There's some theories about why. Some of those are, well, we're going through puberty earlier. I've got 9 and 11-year-old girls. I can attest to that. So we are going through puberty earlier. So is that why menopause is coming earlier? There's other, theories, but again, there's not great research as to why we are going through it a bit earlier. And the other end of the question was around the challenges that it poses. So particularly someone going through POI, so menopause before 40, it's really important that they go and seek medical assistance, because they will have significantly increased risks of longer-term health conditions related to the lack of estrogen that they're going to live with for significant amounts of their life. So those are cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, diabetes, and dementia. So it's really important that we are in tune with our body, that we're tracking our symptoms. There's some really great tracking apps that you can use. There's also lots of downloadable symptom score sheets. There's one on that Dove website. So the earlier you can start writing down how you're feeling, what symptoms you're having, what changes you're experiencing, the easier it will be for you to get a synopsis when you go to your doctor, or you are thinking, oh, this is what's happening for me. If you've got that written down or you've got it tracked, it's a lot easier when you go to your clinician to then be able to explain what you're going through and receive that support and care. The other part of it is blood tests. So the Australasian Menopause Society don't recommend blood tests to diagnose perimenopause after 45. If you think you're going through perimenopause before 45 or menopause before 45, There are some blood tests that can be done to identify that, and often your doctor will send you for blood tests anyway to rule out things like thyroid or iron deficiency or other things that might be causing your symptoms. So I think the other message is, don't assume that it's just menopause and go, oh, it's just menopause, because it could be something else going on. And it is really important that you go and speak to your doctor if you are feeling that your health is changing and it's causing you either pain or discomfort or mental health concerns. The sooner you can start tracking and going to see people and educating yourself on what those symptoms are, the better. So that's hopefully answered that question. But I'm also very mindful we have an amazing doctor on the call who could probably add to that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. She's 42. She's just turned 42, and her entire life feels like it's been upended. And I think she's too scared to go ask questions because she's 42 and she's a 13-year-old son and is like, I can't be going through menopause. That's not right.
Yeah. And do you think the fear is in the feeling that she will be dismissed if she's saying, I think it's menopause?
No, she's avoidant, just like I am. And because we're so used to fending for ourselves, it's difficult for her to go ask for help when she needs it. And so that's why I'm trying, like, that's why I ask the questions, like, what can I say subtly to drive her towards a doctor, towards a clinic? Because I don't even think she gets a break on a monthly basis anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so common, isn't it? That we don't look after ourselves. We put everybody else first and look after our family's needs and our kids' needs. And we, often leave our own health to, let it drag out for as long as, it can. But I think, as a friend, you can let her know that you've learned some things about, going through menopause, and it's pretty normal to go through it earlier, and symptoms, can be different, but also particularly if she is having the cyclical changes of her periods, that's a real indicator that her hormones are changing if she's had a regular cycle before. So I think just being there, listening, encouraging, throwing a book at her every now and again.
Or throw things at her. I've never thrown a book. So
there's lots of great books out there that are really approachable, but also podcasts are a really easy way to, I just want to listen to this podcast. And I think we've got to also be respectful of everyone's kind of time frame that it takes people to get, to terms with this as well, and to find the right time and space for them as well to work out where they want to be, because it doesn't always have to be a doctor. They might want to go and see somebody else, another one of their healthcare practitioners, or an alternative medicine practitioner that they're comfortable with, to talk about what they're experiencing. I personally found talking to my naturopath really enlightening from a gut health perspective. The naturopaths often have a lot more time to spend with you what's going on in your body, and so I sort of take both ends of the spectrum when it comes to that, the Western medicine and the alternative, supportive treatments. But I think you're a great friend for asking for her, and for thinking about her and how you can support her journey.
I actually like that last recommendation. We happen to share a shrink, so I might drop some hints to him so he can circle back around with her. Because she's not going to listen to me. She'll absolutely listen to him.
For sure. Hopefully that shrink is educated on menopause.
Yeah, he's pretty switched on this one. Actually, I won't tell him that because his head's already too big. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. So we've only got time for one more question, and I know that we could definitely elaborate on that that question we've just had, but I'm going to go to Fifi's one. Just let's end with this one, which is about no one talks about sexual desire. So who would like to take that one? Jennifer or Dr. Nicole, or Jennifer? Or if we have time, we can do both of you.
Can we share it?
Yeah, okay. Why don't you go first then, Jennifer?
Well, sexual desire is such an individual factor. For some women, it actually goes up at this stage in life, but a lot of women don't complain about that. What you hear about is the women that have the lower drive, And it can be hormone related, it can be relationship related, it can be dryness related. There's so many different factors, and that's also where I find that a psychologist like yourself, Faith, also comes in quite handy to tag team also with the GP, so we can have a look at vaginal health. And why don't I jump over to you?
Okay.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, it's true. We don't often bring up sexual desire, but Jennifer's summarized it well. You know, in women, our brain is our biggest sex organ, but certainly the impacts of cortisol and stress and impacts on mental health with our hormonal changes, and most importantly, the vaginal changes that can happen with intercourse, frequent urinary tract infections. So certainly having a holistic approach on addressing vaginal microbiomes and vaginal health to make sure that it's comfortable for you, looking at, you know, work with a psychologist, or, you know, mindfulness techniques. You know, there's some great studies out there on mindfulness and impacts on libido and orgasm. And then just conversations with your partner. You know, sexual libido mismatches is something that's not uncommon at all ages of life. So having conversations around, you know, what could work for you, what could work for them, maybe just trying to unhinge a little bit from the necessity, if possible, of intercourse, and exploring outercourse and other forms of pleasure. And, you know, for those women that are really struggling, testosterone replacement is an area that for some women can be helpful. It's approved in Australia for hyposexual dysfunction disorder. So that's a conversation that can be had as well.
Great, thank you. It's interesting. One of my clients seeing me for therapy, she started testosterone replacement, and just her life changed completely. She was so happy. Lots of energy. She was having fun. So so the timing is perfect. We've only got a few more minutes. I'm just going to go back to our panelists and just give a takeaway that you would like to leave the women with. Let's go to Grace first.
Oh, thank you so much to everyone for joining tonight. It's every time I get to talk about menopause, it just fills up my cup, because I know that everyone on this call is either experiencing it or knows someone who is experiencing it and needs that support and help. So my takeaway is, let's talk more about it. Let's encourage our partners, our family members, our kids to know about menopause. Like I said, 9, 11-year-old daughters, they know a lot about menopause. So I think the more we can talk about it, the more we can share vulnerably how we're feeling, the better. But certainly in the workplace, we see so many women just opting out because they don't think there's any hope for them or any way to feel better. And so my last message is, don't wait until your symptoms are really bad. There's lots of support out there. Chat to your friends, have a laugh about what you're going through sometimes is the best thing. And really just keep on top of educating yourself and knowing it can be it's a journey, it's a transition. It will get better. If it's really bad, it will get better. But we all need to kind of be there for each other in that community and supporting one another to feel amazing as we are.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dr. Nicole?
Oh, yes, Simone, I just want to thank you, Faith, for inviting me and the fabulous way you've facilitated this session. You know, thanks to the other guys on the panel, and for the lovely women for logging in on a Halloween night to give up their time while they're managing trick-or-treating. Yeah, I think that the take home is, you know, trust your own self. You know what every woman knows what she needs best to heal. Every woman's experience of this transition is different. It's really important that we don't pathologize menopause, yet we still hold space and honor women that are struggling. So, you know, trust yourself, empower yourself with knowledge, and advocate for yourself, and find the people around you that's going to help you advocate with you and for you. Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you. Jennifer?
I think I want to go back to the celebration. Like, this is the creation of version 2.0 of yourself. This is the time where we get to recreate, rebrand, start a new life within our own lifetime. That a lot of women come out feeling, well, they go through having not as much confidence, but at the end, when they come out, I often find that women get a little bit feisty, that they've taken charge, they take no prisoners anymore, that it's it's really their life. They tend to be more
Yeah.
adventurous and fun, and that's what I hope all of you guys can do as well, to know that there is another side, and that version 2.0 can be the best and longest stage of your life.
Beautiful. So my takeaways are definitely find a community, trust yourself, empower yourself with knowledge, and celebrate. And I love what Fifi, you said, the best the best I've felt ever. So that's fantastic. And I really do believe this phase of life could potentially be the best of years of our lives. So it's fantastic. So thank you so much. Lovely Grace Malloy, Dr. Nicole Avard, and Jennifer Harrington for an informative, inspiring, and a powerful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Faith. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See
So I'm going to put together all the resources, okay?